Hello, YouTube learners, students, and colleagues. This is Dr. Satish Singhal, PhD, Professor of Computer Science, El Camino College, Torrance, California. Again, this time I'm going to talk to you about how to read from text or ASCII file in C++. Text or ASCII files have no fonts, no bold, no pictures. Simply you type them in Notepad or on Mac in Text Wrangler, and what it does is it embeds end of line character, end of file character inside the file. In fact, it's always there. It just keeps moving to higher byte values when you read the file, when you type into the file. Okay, so this is a 5-step process. What we want to do here is discuss the steps here in this Word document, and I have my Xcode compiler on Mac already having the code, and I'm just going to go back and forth between this document and Xcode. So the step one is, imagine that we read some integers from an input file, we sum them up, count how many there are, and get the real average of them and print it. And here are the key steps. One is get the full path to input file. Full path means you start with the drive letter. In Windows it will be typically C colon slash folder path slash folder path, and you keep doing it until you reach the file with extension. Okay, in Mac it will be users slash slash slash, and there are ways to quickly find the file path, and there are ways to just drag and drop file on the terminal where output is coming, so you never have to fill it out. Those ways I'm not going to discuss in this video. That would be another video. And this requires use of getLine, because both in Windows and Mac, full path may have white spaces. If you do C narrow arrow, you're not going to get the full path. But if you use getLine, buffer must be clean. Before using the getLine, there's something called getLine gotcha will happen if buffer is not clean. Again, I'm not going to discuss that in this video. If buffer is not clean, you got to use ignore to clean the buffer. But here's the issue. If you use this and buffer is already clean, then your program will have a bug. Okay, so let's go to Xcode and see how this step one is done. Okay, so this is the code in Xcode. This is what I just showed you in the Word document. So I'm going to declare a string called inFileName, and I'm going to tell user enter full path to input file, and that would require path starting from the root drive letter or root directory, so to speak. Oops, sorry. Okay. And then we use getLine. So in this case, since first input is getLine, buffer was clean. If I took some other input, like say input that will use something like cin arrow before use of getLine, then I'll have to use the ignore. Okay, otherwise I'll need to worry about it. Okay, so on this line here, inFileName will include the full path. Few more things about full path. Full path to a file in any operating system, it's unique. It is its unique identifier. So computer is going to find it. So you don't have to worry about how computer does it. It sees the unique identifier, and the software related to hardware goes and finds it. So that's all there is to it. And this will contain the full file path name. Okay, then we have the step 2, where you declare an ifstream object and bind the input file name to it. This is very similar to my other videos where we wrote to output file. So this step is really not that different. So all we do is we declare a stream object in, you can call it any variable name. This is just a variable name, and I do in.open. This is preferred because sometimes you may pass this to a function, and if you want to open file there, then you will have to do that there. Otherwise, there is an alternate code. If you are not passing if stream to a function, then you could also do this. If stream in, and just pass the file path to it like this. That's making a constructor call, by the way. And you know what constructors are if you're taking my CS52. So this is another option, but at least you should remember this one, this two-step process. So at this time, if file exists and your program has read permission, don't forget, in Unix world, you may not have read permission on certain drive letters or even on certain areas of your own drive letter. So that's very important. But if file exists and your program has read permission, then really speaking, file will be open at that time. But we never know. File name may be wrong. User may have specified file that doesn't even exist, may not have read permission. Okay. So we do step 3, that's validate the file name. That file indeed open. That one. That requires some control structure, if and else. And that's right here. That in.open, in.isOpen returns true if file is not opened. So you can do it either way. You could do that. Here I'm trying to show that file didn't open successfully first. So I do the negation. If this function returns a false, that means file was not opened successfully. The negation will be true. And then we tell user that path, we give them path they entered, may be invalid, or file reading is not allowed. And we tell them to try again. We'll demo this part also. Okay. Otherwise, file opens successfully. If this is true, not true will be false. So you will not do this block, and you'll go to the else block. So step 4 is this: read file and process data. Additional tests may be needed to ascertain that file is not empty. And imagine that structure of the file is like this. Okay, so here I'm going to give you a variation on the Sentinel, combination of Sentinel and end of file control loop together. And in any case, we have to declare sum and how many readings there are before entering the loop. So actually let me, okay, so it's there, so not a problem. So I declare sum to 0, that will sum up all the integer. How many there are, that. These are called, I call them accumulators. Any accumulators should be initialized before the loop in which they do accumulation. Otherwise you're going to have garbage in, garbage out problem. Okay. Okay, that's all. And this one reading, I set it to 0, you don't have to. So then I do my loop like this. I use the extraction operator. So first reading 1 will be stored in this one, and I sum them up into the sum. It was 0, so you'll get the first reading, and I increase my how many counter by 1 because I got 1. And then don't forget that extraction operator jumps over the white spaces. So it's not going to read this, then it's going to read 3. Okay, so it read the 3, it will add 3 to sum, how many increase by 1 more will become 2, and it's going to keep going until it read 10. When it read 10, then well, 10 is true, by the way. Any number other than 0 is true. Oh, okay. So you could say what happens if there is a zero. Well, I mean, if stream is object will still be in the valid state. So I guess zero will not matter. Okay. But I should do this with the zero also. So when I run the program, I'll change my file and make sure it works with zero as well. Okay. So when 10 is read, it's added to the sum. How many becomes? By then it'll be 10. But finally, there is a EOF character in the file right here, which you don't see here, but it will be in the file. That is read. When that happens, if stream object goes into false state, and that means it won't even enter the loop, it'll exit the loop. Okay. More textual description will be needed to describe this concept I just said. But in any case, anytime if stream object is to be read, you saw that in the when we were reading from the keyboard, Control Z ended the data input. So it's the same thing here, and loop is exited. Then we do our mean, which will be sum divided by how many. But your math professor will be pretty upset if you try to do a division when you did not ascertain that this is not zero. So we make sure that how many is greater than zero, and then I get the mean sum divided by how many. But if I just left it without casting to double, it will it will truncate the remainder. We don't want to do that. So we cast this to double type to make sure we get the real floating point division, and then we'll print it. And if file was empty, then how many will be zero, and we'll say there are no data in the file. Okay. All right. So let's run this program, and I will show you how to copy full path of the file. I'm showing this in the Mac, and I am sure you'll find out a way how to do that in Windows. Okay, so sorry, let me get enough space here. So on Mac, what you need to do is, this is my folder. Okay, let's show empty file first. In Mac, right click and then press Option and then use this. So it got the full path to the file. You'll see here in a second. Notice in Mac it doesn't start with the drive letter, it starts with the user. In case of Windows, you'll start with C:\\. Okay. All right. So let's enter. It says there were no data in the file, and this is the file name. And of course, if you don't trust me, I'll show you. Hey, there's no data in there. Okay. The other one that I'm going to use is input file, and that does have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so earlier I showed they were not in the numerical order, but I don't think it makes any difference. They could be in any order. So this time I'm going to use this file, and mean should be 5.5. Okay, let's do it again. Okay, so I right click, press Option key on the Mac, copy, got the full path. Command V prints it, and mean of all the numbers is 5.5. Okay, so then I did promise that I'll add a 0, and of course mean is going to change because then my reading will be 11, but it should read the 0. If not, then my theory is wrong. So let me copy and paste it. Copy and paste it. Paste. And I'll add 0 here and save the file. And Let me give it a recent path. Two. Okay. And right click, press Option key, copy. Okay, run it again. Yeah, so it read the 0, and now mean is 5 because we have 11 readings and sum is 55, so we'll get 5.0. Okay, we can print the sum also, that's not a big problem. So that's how reading from the file works. Now if you were to ask me an additional thing, that how to read from a file and then write to output file, my advice would be to watch my video where I've done writing to output file, and in that case there will be additional steps here to open the output file and write to it and so on. So you're going to have to combine these two programs together in order to read from a file, write to output file. Okay, and I'm hoping you could do that. Okay, once again, I'm highly appreciative that you are learning, and this is Dr. Satish Singhal, PhD from El Camino College, Torrance, California. Thank you so much.